Hello and welcome to the Family podcast. We're talking today about raising boys. I'm here with Toby, just the two of us, to have a conversation about what it means to raise sons with the teachings of Jesus being the center of what it is that we do. That's what the Family podcast is all about. We've been talking about routines and all that kind of thing. And one of the routines, Toby, that you and I established as you hit about the age of 14 was that you've mentioned it before a couple of times in previous episodes, was that we woke up a little bit earlier each Monday to Thursday to have a bit of a conversation about life, what it means to be a man. Do you remember how that all kicked off? What are your memories of that beginning?
Yeah, well, first off, it's called Primal Path. We've got to add that. That's what the routine was. So I actually remember it started off, so as a family, we did 13th celebrations. Mum and Dad would take us away somewhere. And I went to, where was it? It was a surfing wave pool in Snowdonia at the time, which was pretty cool. And Mum and Dad gave me this journal. I've got it here, Dad.
Oh, yes, Toby.
Not that. If you're watching, you can see it, but if you're not watching, then I just pulled out a journal that Mum and Dad gave me on my 13th-ish birthday.
A sturdy leather journal.
And they were like, so, you're going to do this thing called Primal Path with Dad. And it actually started off by being quite simple. We just went on walks and stuff, and then we realised that wasn't really doing anything helpful for us. And so we changed it up. We switched it up. I think we were probably doing that for like 6 months. I think we tried quite a lot of different things, and we would walk and talk, which was great. But then just life is busy. So
yeah,
we found that was a bit tricky. And then we decided to start doing morning. So that was at 6:45, was it? Yep. 6:50 probably, because that was probably like 5 minutes.
It was meant to be 6:45 till 7 o'clock. Yep.
Yeah. And then we would do multiple different things. Sometimes it was like questions and stuff.
Well, let's get into what we did, because I'm intrigued as to what made you, because you weren't resistant to the idea, were you? So I'd come across this thing about Primal Path from Jon Tyson, who's a church leader in New York, and he's now written it up in a book called The Intentional Father, which I recommend to lots of people. And it created the structure really upon which I built what it was that we were trying to do first in those conversations on the dog walk in the park, and then led to our earlier mornings. So I'd come across all of this, which included some preparatory work for me as the dad, which maybe we'll get into. But I'm interested in asking you, what was it that caused you to think, yeah, okay, I'll do that, rather than push back and be like, oh, that's the worst thing I can think of. You're 14, like we're trying to give you agency. We're trying to help you decide, what it is that you want to do. But at the same time, I really wanted to do this with you. Can you remember kind of what the conversations were
if
around
I'm honest,
that? Or was it just more like, we're doing this?
I think it was a mix of we're doing this and the fact that obviously I love my dad as well. That helps, I think. Hey. You're welcome. But I think it was probably a thing of, if I'm super honest, it's probably 14-year-old Toby's dad said that we're going to do something, so we're going to do it kind of vibes. But I think it's the fact that we started off without the 6:45 start would probably helped me want to do it as well.
It may have helped, but if I remember, one of the earliest things was developing not like a signed contract, but an agreement between the two of us, like, we're going to do this and we're going to commit to it. So the whole point that Jon Tyson made was that in every culture other than modern Western culture, there's some form of initiation into adulthood that's marked by an event, but also then some sort of coaching, training. He talked about how there's like a moment where I think his wife did it with their son over a meal of like, I've gotten you this far, but now I'm kind of handing over to your dad.
Baton.
Yeah, the responsibility for then growing you into a man. And like, we had interesting conversations, Lizzie and me, about that, because she's like, well, I still want to be involved in Toby's life. And it's not like saying, oh yeah, thanks love, your job's done, but it's much more acknowledging the kind of the nurturing, caring aspect that mums more often than not are the ones that bring to children is really, really appropriate. But raising sons demands some stretching. The way that I've kind of thought about it in the past is that mum is more likely to say no to you doing scary things, and I'm more likely to say yes. It's not binary because mum's kind of nuts and loves doing exciting things as well anyway, but that's kind of how Jon Tyson frames it, not as a, you have to have a 2-parent family for it to work, but that sons who are going through their teenage years need a different style of parenting that's not just about nurture. It's not just about keeping you safe within the home. It's about intentionally sending you out to do things. And there are different skills that you learn through your teens than from your preteens and younger than that. And one of the interesting things that I went through is I wanted to do this because it's not the kind of thing that I had growing up as a kid. I mentioned a couple of times my dad was an alcoholic. He was more like an absent father than anything. When he was around, we were kind of walking on eggshells, not quite sure what he was going to do next, whether he'd be volatile or whether he'd be friendly. So I was like, well, I really want to invest into my son in ways that I didn't have invested in me in the ways that I wanted to as a kid. I had other father-like figures who did this kind of thing, but I really took that on, and there's some different prep work. But I remember thinking, oh, golly, because you did have your 13th birthday, but we didn't really start doing anything about this until you were 14. And I was thinking,
well, I think we did my 13th birthday thing when I was 14.
Oh, yeah, we did. Was that because
it was like COVID, I think, or just planning.
So you kind of missed out your 13th year, didn't you? Yeah. We put that on pause.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I didn't get sent out into the desert to fight off like wolves or whatever. Actually,
that's the kind of point.
Live in. Yeah, is that like a Spartan tradition or something? Sending the kids out into the mountains or something? Yeah, and if you come back, you come back. If you don't, you don't.
Basically, and Jon Tyson's point is that there's always been a way that boys can prove that they are men by doing something that's challenging and difficult. And yeah, is it the Spartans who you had to wear your wolf skin as proof that you'd killed it or something?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, or maybe you could try that. But
have I proven myself as a man yet or not?
Well, I think so, given that you graduated high school, headed off to university, and I'm very proud of you. So yeah, but I don't think there's quite the same marker of manhood that you've...
I'm not that masculine, sadly. I've not got a wolf skin to wear, but...
No, I'm not sure many people in the modern Western world would fit that category. But also you can surf a whole lot better than me as well. So
and play golf better than you.
Yeah,
and run.
Sadly.
No, I'm only joking.
I've never claimed to be good at golf either, so that's not particularly hard. So going back to the beginning then, the whole point is spend time with your son and help them reflect on the change from being a boy to being a man. And so how much of those initial dog walks do you remember? I was trying to find my way through, well, what would work for us? I wasn't convinced about the early morning thing. So once a week we went for like an hour-long walk. What are your recollections of that?
I actually do remember some of the... I think I remember some of the questions. Well,
great.
Maybe not remember the questions, but it's good because I've written it all down so I can like go back to it and stuff, which is really cool. But I think that the walks were, I think the thing that worked about the mornings was that they were so consistent, and then the weeks were a bit too far apart, I think. But I think we finished that quite early on anyway. So
yeah, well, I think partly because Sunday's a work day for me, and we were trying to fit it around meetings, and I was like, this isn't quite scratching the itch properly. Go on then, talk us through what...
I wasn't becoming a man quick enough.
I don't think you need to take the blame. It's okay. Do you remember what it changed into then? Yeah, because we started doing 6:45 Monday to Thursday. Tell us a bit about that, because we did have to agree first, didn't we, that this was what we were going to do?
Yeah. But I actually think it was sort of a joint effort. I think I was quite keen to start in the morning because I was I? Do you remember?
I actually don't remember.
But anyway,
I know that you weren't phased about getting up another 15 minutes earlier. You thought, yeah, great, let's do it.
Well, I think at that point as well, I was struggling with like Bible study and stuff. And I was like, this is a place where I can start the morning with, well, my dad and Jesus. So
yeah,
it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. I guess I'm remembering I was quite motivated with the idea of getting you to read. You weren't, probably still
I forgot about that.
a massive fan of reading.
I really forgot. See, it's not traumatized me, so that's good. Or it has, because I block out a lot of stuff, so you never know. But yeah, Dad asked me, that was a really good thing. So I'd read a book, wouldn't I? And then we'd talk about it. So it was, actually, I remember, if I'm honest, I remember that being like homework. But it's good discipline.
It did feel like pulling teeth, I've got to be honest. So, but we didn't do that every morning, did we? Do you remember what routine we
No, that was
landed
dog walking era, I think.
Okay.
And then, oh yes, of course, we got into a little, like, we had each day was a different thing. So we'd start, I think we'd start, the Monday would be like, would it be talking about the Bible or something?
Yeah. So you had the Bible app on your phone. And it pinged like a verse of the day, didn't it? And so we reflected on the verse of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, we did that. And then it would be one of the times I would have read a specific amount of a book, and then I'd have like taken something from that. So there was different topics, wasn't there? So there was like discipline, there was other things that I can't remember.
So John, that's part of what Jon Tyson had put together as a suggestion of a structure, and I had a little spreadsheet for how long we had between your 14th birthday when we started and your 18th birthday to try and match it. And when we started, I was like, okay, we've got about 10 weeks for each different theme. And he had worked hard to boil down. It's all in that book, The Intentional Father, the themes of shifts that you would have to make from being a boy to a man. So one of them was about discipline. One was about learning how to deal with difficulty and all those kinds of things.
There was the different like specific titles or something. That was one of the 10-week blocks, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
There was, then I'd go and take whatever I'd read. I'd go out, and from the bit of reading that I'd done, I'd find a place where the person, if it was like Chasing the Dragon, for example, I'd find where Jackie Pullinger had been faithful or something.
Yeah, that's right. We were trying to discuss things around a theme, weren't we? But one of the things that this book had recommended was get them to basically every 10 weeks you're supposed to have read a new book that's based on that theme. We're supposed to have watched a film together based on that theme. We're supposed, and I found all of that a little bit challenging. Firstly, working out, well, what book can we read? Like I remember there was one that I found, which was about leadership. Do you remember watching a film about leadership with me?
I remember watching Gladiators.
Well, yeah, we did that too.
I don't know if that,
but it was part of the plan so that we could have a reflective conversation afterwards. Yeah, we watched Braveheart too. Obviously, age appropriate when you got to the age of 15. Beforehand. But
of course.
I felt a little bit overwhelmed trying to find all this content that would really help you, particularly because you didn't love reading at all. And so, we got to the end of the 10 weeks and we hadn't finished that book, and got to the end of the next...
We finished Jackie Pullinger.
We did finish Jackie Pullinger's
and then got
book.
About halfway through Keith Green.
Exactly. But do you remember how we read through Keith Green? That was like pulling teeth.
No, I don't.
So Keith Green's autobiography was really influential for both me and Mum when we were teenagers. And if you don't know his story, he's this musician who lived always producing music through the 70s and 80s, Christian music. And he was kind of a prophet, really challenging song words. And so I loved his music and I loved his story. He died tragically in a plane accident, but he had invited homeless people into their home. They'd lived in community, and it really impacted me as a teenager. It really impacted Lizzie. So we were like, well, let's read that because that's really impactful. And you didn't quite engage with it as much as I'd hoped you might, did you?
No, I mean, I think it's just, I don't know what it is about reading.
Yeah. I think you found it easy to read about Jackie Pullinger because we'd been to Hong Kong, you'd visited, you'd seen what she had done in real life. So maybe that was easier. But yeah, there was one morning, I think it was the Wednesday morning, where we'd sit down and we would just read a page out loud each. Do you remember going backwards and forwards?
Yeah.
And it was just me trying to get us through the book. And it went
with
slow.
Toby with the reading age of about a 13-year-old. Actually, probably 10, even less or something.
You did sound tired a lot of the time as well.
Yeah,
I was like,
knackered.
gosh, this is going really slow. And I was like, well, yeah, you've just woken up.
Yeah, that's a good point, to be fair. I need to give myself some slack, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got some of the topics here if I...
Oh, great. Have you found them? Go on then.
Yeah. So this is in the front of my very thick journal. Oh,
nice.
People can't see it. But anyway, so the first ever thing we did was, so they were like, the first 10-week block, I guess, was going from one phase into another one.
That's right.
So like going from boyhood to manhood.
That's right.
And so they were like ease to difficulty.
Yeah.
Reading Jackie Pullinger at that point. And then it was control to surrender.
Yeah.
Then it was temporary to eternal.
Yeah.
And then it swapped blocks to like specific things. So it's discipline, leadership, warrior, wisdom. Oh, brother.
Yeah.
Wisdom, I remember really enjoying that. That was Proverbs, a lot of good stuff. I remember getting a lot from that. Spiritual gifts I got a lot from as well. Personality profiles we did.
Do you remember what we did there?
Yeah. We just found out about me. We got scammed by a lot of websites. No, I'm joking. We would go on. I did lots of different personality tests, didn't I? Trying to learn about how I might react in different situations and how other people might be built, kind of vibes.
And do you think that was helpful? Because I mean, arguably, you're not fully formed. In the middle of your teens, you may feel like now you're at uni, you're like, oh, I've actually changed quite a lot. But was it helpful, or
I think
do you feel like you've changed?
I think it's quite cool to go back, because we didn't just say, like, we would explain what different things were. So like Myers-Briggs and what's the other one? What's the Enneagram? That one.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So it's like being able to understand what those kind of things mean, I think is actually really quite helpful, because I can go back to it and be like, if I'm ever in a situation where I'm struggling with someone, like a friend or something, I can go back to it and try and work out like what their personality traits might be, or how I might be reacting as a person with specific traits. Not that I've ever done that. That sounds very productive from me, but I've never done that.
That's a really good idea.
In a specific situation, I might do that now.
Maybe you could. Go on then. Keep going. What else did we do?
Yeah.
Did some personality profiles.
Yeah, quite a lot of
it's
that.
sort of a self-understanding thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then, we planned the interviews and questions. Not that we ever got around to that.
So the idea from that was, and this was a great idea, but
it was,
by this time you were like 17 and my spreadsheet was getting crunched up. So we were missing some weeks. And so instead of 10 weeks, it had gone down to 8 weeks. And then
but it was with exams and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. 6 weeks, which is why I kept looking back thinking, oh, if only I'd started sooner. So the idea was you would interview somebody from their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. And then come back and reflect on, okay, well, what did you learn from their stage of life that you could live into in that particular decade? Trying to give you a vision of the expanse of life. Even though you didn't do the interviews, do you feel like you picked that up, or is that something that you wish that we'd done?
Picked up, like,
as in through the conversations, do you feel like, because we still talked about it even though we didn't actually do the interviews, do you feel like you got a vision for the sort of breadth of life that you might live?
Yeah, 100%. I think because of the questions, I sort of tried to ask them in my head.
Yeah.
And maybe like subconsciously do that still now. It's like when I'm talking to someone from a different age range, I can ask those questions like in my head and actually ask them as well.
Yeah.
And sort of try and get wisdom from them in that stage of life. So yeah, probably.
I do remember talking to you about who you admire, who's like at the other end of their lives effectively, and we talked about a couple of the older men who you've encountered, like your grandpa Gary Best, people in the 70s who set a really good example for you. Talk a bit about that, how they sort of inspired you and made you think, oh yeah, I'd love, if I want to become like them, I've got to X, Y or Z.
Yeah, well, I think it's good at coming from a Christian background. It's quite easy because I've got a grandpa who has served, and he's got an incredible faith, and got so many people around me that are older and have so much wisdom. I think that like the aspiration to be like that is definitely there.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from just wanting my own faith, just trying to work out what they have done in their life that has made them become the men they are now, and trying to work out how I can do the same things, I guess.
Yeah, really good. Do you remember the manual to manhood?
I do. I was going to mention that, but I won't.
So go on. So I think we had. Let's do the routine. I think Mondays we reflected on the verse of the day.
Yeah.
Tuesdays we tried to look. I remember initially we tried to look at a biblical character who encapsulated the theme that we were looking at. So when we were looking at wisdom, that's why we did Proverbs. When we look at leadership, I think we talked about David and and then the Wednesday, I think we tried to read and talk about that. And then the Thursday, we had this book called The Manual to Manhood. Here it is, The Manual to Manhood. If you're watching, I just went onto Amazon and tried to find something that would help as a tool to create conversations between me and Toby about different aspects of, moving from being boy to a man. What do you remember about this, Toby?
I remember I was laughing at it quite a lot, to be honest. Yeah, some of it was just a bit, interesting. But we did have good laughs when reading.
So here you go. Let me give you a couple of examples. Section 1.
Like, hygiene and stuff.
We'll get to Section 1, women and dating.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
How to talk with a girl you like. How to invite a girl on a first date. All of that. Wow. Do you remember? Social skills and manners was the next section.
Yeah, I remember that.
How to shake hands. I remember practicing shaking hands.
I remember that as well.
How to introduce yourself. How to introduce other people. Actually, I think you've done really well with lots of these things because we're really good at this stuff. How to set a table. Work and ethics was section 3. How to apply for a job.
Oh, yes, I remember those ones.
How did that go?
Good. Not really. Yeah.
How to fill out an application. How to interview for a job. How to ask for a pay rise.
Oh, I think I remember interviewing for a job. I think I actually took some of the things we had talked about from for interviewing for uni.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Because I don't...
Oh, yeah. I remember this one. Wealth and money management.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was actually really helpful, wasn't it? Because the thing is the kind of stuff that... Well, I remember showing you our monthly budget.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That was good.
Just looking utterly confused.
Still am when I see it.
How to create a personal budget. How to build a savings account. Yeah.
Oh, I just put some money into some savings today.
Yeah,
pretty proud.
I'm proud of you too. Grooming and personal hygiene. That was quite
funny. That was fun. That was good crack to just read.
How to shave. How to cool razor. But thing is, this is stuff that's really practical. And like when you're 14, 15, having something that creates the context for the conversation, I found really helpful. Because obviously we stood together, we talked about shaving, but this just helps you talk about it when you're not in the moment, you're not standing in front of a mirror, feeling self-conscious.
Shaving nothing off. Like, still to this day.
Shaving off your pretend moustache.
Shaving off the pretend hair that's there. I do grow hair on my face, guys.
You do, eventually. Clothes and style, sports and recreation, cars and driving, food and cooking, tools and fix it. Yeah, so we went through one chapter, didn't we?
Some of it was a bit just like self-explanatory, which was quite fun.
Obvious, yeah.
So we'd have to do like 2, 3 in one day.
But some of it was actually really helpful. And that's the point, when it provided the context. So I think for me, I felt like as a dad, great. Well, at least we've talked about it. At least you've heard that, seen that. At least you've had some opportunity to ask some questions around it. And even if it's not like the done deal, we've kind of broken into that subject. So if you ever need help or need to talk to me about it, it's not like the first time that we've ever talked about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned the sort of initiation thing that we did at the age of 13. We took all our kids off to celebrate them becoming teenagers. And like you say, you went surfing. Do you remember we also did a night away with some of the guys that you wanted to hear from and hear them speak wisdom to you? And we did that just as we were kicking it all off. Tell us about that.
Yeah. There was... Mum and Dad asked me what like men who were older in my life, like quite a lot older, who I look up to in faith and just life in general. So I kind of wrote a list, I guess, and and then we invited them to a barn in the middle of nowhere. And
it sounds really creepy when you say it like that. To be clear, we invited them to a camping barn to have a fun evening with a fire pit and sleeping out in the camping barn.
And so we sort of just talked about life and faith and how to be a man.
Yeah.
I think one of the only conversations I remember from, actually this probably sounds pretty bad, but one of the only conversations I remember was about Braveheart with Clinton French.
And then we got to watch it a few years later when he'd actually turned 15. Yeah.
I know.
So that's how things started. But then talk about sort of what you feel like now. You're 19, looking back on it. I often say to friends who are talking to me about it, you'll never regret time that you spend with your son intentionally investing in them. I'm really glad that I got that time with you. I often think I could have done with so much more. There's so many things I didn't say. There's so many other things I'd like to have added in. And the structure was quite helpful, but I know you're still alive, but we don't get to do each morning for 15 minutes, do we? We now live in a different city. So what about you? What about looking back? What are some of the things you've taken from it?
From
doing the Primal Path, yeah.
Okay. I always say that I think this isn't one of the most obvious ones, but probably a discipline in the fact of waking up in the morning, even though I wasn't always punctual. Getting up in the morning to...
You were pretty good.
Start my day, doing something, whether that's reading the Bible or going downstairs and reading the Bible with Dad as well, or doing something to do with faith-based stuff. I think the discipline of doing that each morning and starting the day with that is really important. And I think just in general, how I can be the best man I can in this sort of generation, the world that we live in, when there's so much distraction, so much temptation and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think it's helped me in a plethora of ways.
Yeah. So what would you say to parents who might be listening to this, or even their boys who might be listening to this, preteen boys? What would you say?
I'd say have fun with it as well. Me and Dad had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs. We went to Kuala Lumpur as well.
Oh, I forgot that. That was the final trip, wasn't it?
That was a big thing. And we also, at the end, we did a lot of more Bible reading where we went through each book of the Bible. Sorry, I'm just listing off some quick things. But yeah, we went to Kuala Lumpur and we just had a laugh for however long we were there.
It was a 5-day trip to Kuala Lumpur. It's a very long way to go, but we squeezed it into your half term. Do you remember?
Yeah. And it was A-level year as well. So that's the reason why I didn't get A star.
I understand.
It was worth it. It's okay. But we just had a laugh. And you don't have to go to Kuala Lumpur for that. Me and Dad go on a walk and we have a laugh and we'll play golf and I'll smash him and we'll have a laugh because of that.
Yeah, you will thrash me.
But yeah, I think as well, what Dad was saying about investing time, any son is going to appreciate the time that he spends with his dad, even if it doesn't seem like it. 6:45 in the morning when he's knackered. At the end of the day, he's going to be thankful for it when he grows up into a man, and when he's stuck in different situations and trying to work out what to do. It's very helpful to have a dad who has invested time into trying to make you a good person.
Yeah. And one of the things I think that I reflected on was, from my background, my dad didn't do this stuff with me, but I did have people who did. And so if you're listening, you're a single mum, you're like, well, that's great, but how do I do that? Then actually there are that's the beauty of being within the church. Like you've already said, Toad, there's people who I'm sure would love to cheer on the teenage boys around. And yes, there's safeguarding, yes, there's all of that, but none of that should stop us from reflecting on the power of what it means to have investment into our young men. And it really struck that the Adolescent series from Netflix won Golden Globe Awards just recently, and it had a massive impact on our culture. I think because we're all trying to wrestle with, well, what do we do? How do we raise our sons? And I'm really grateful for the time that Jon Tyson spent doing this with his son and benefiting from all of that. And I'm really glad to hear, Tobes, that you've felt like you've benefited from that too.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, by the fact that you've invested so much time, I feel so comfortable with some of the harder conversations. And when we were going through Primal Path as well, it's just I could ask you anything And I would feel comfortable with that because you'd spent time with me. I don't know if that would be the same if it didn't happen, but I think it probably wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
But like those mornings were times that I could bring up those questions, and like when you have intentional time for that kind of thing, it's so much easier to ask questions and stuff. So that's probably something else I'd say about it. But yeah, all in all, an awesome experience.
Oh, that's so good to hear, Tobes, and I absolutely love doing it myself too. So I hope if you're listening or watching, that's been helpful, encouraging for you. Just a reminder, that book I mentioned is Jon Tyson, The Intentional Father, or of course the Manual to Manhood, which we also mentioned too. And yeah, as Toby said, I think building fun into it, using the structure to be helpful rather than restrictive was a real gift to me, realizing that I don't have to follow it exactly, but I just have to try and make it work for the situation that we faced, where actually you didn't love reading. You weren't a fan of that. So, okay, well, let's make the most of that. Do what we can with it. And if this has been helpful for you, then please do comment, please do like, please do share, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to email us, it's hello@famalampod.com. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's @famalampod. We'll revisit this in future episodes, but we will see you again this time next week. In the meantime, God bless. Have a great week. Bye.
Au revoir.